Hi, welcome to another video about my 735iL. I'm fortunate enough and really blessed to have access to a heated garage at home while the car is in storage. This winter I'll be able to do a bit of work on the car and not just wait for the summertime and waste all my driving season fixing the car. I want to tackle the drive shaft because when I drive the car, I noticed if I'm just driving around and then I let go of the gas pedal, I hear a big thumping sound around the drive shaft tunnel area here. I suspect the drive shaft center bearing because it's old, like everything else, and there's a rubber bushing inside of it. I really hope it's not the actual joints of the drive shaft because in case you don't know, the joints are staked in the on the E32 and also E34 and maybe other BMWs, and they can't be replaced. So you have to change the whole drive shaft, and it's $1,400 Canadian for a new drive shaft. So yeah, really expensive. If I need to work on it, I might get it rebuilt. I'll see, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there, as they say. So yeah, so I thought might as well record it. Maybe it helps others, entertains some people, laugh at my amateur mistakes. But I'm sure some of you can relate to the mistakes I make sometimes. Anyway, so let's get under the car. I already jacked the car. I'm at the second level here with my ESCO jacks and jack stands, I mean. And yeah, I got the exhaust lowered. At the back, it's almost touching the ground. And I elected to leave it in place because I can't quite get it past the subframe, I think it was, or the cross member. It's really annoying without a lift, so I'm just leaving it there, and I think I'll have enough space to do the work. So yeah, let's get under the car. All right, so I hope the video quality will be better. I decided to record everything with my phone because the camcorder is difficult to set up anyway. So this is my drive shaft. Let's just focus here. Yeah, so yeah, no signs of damage or anything, but yeah, I still need to check for the clunking sound. So if I bring my light over here and then I try to rock it a bit with my hand. Yeah, that's the kind of clicking sound I was hearing in the car, but louder. I wonder if changing the engine mounts and the transmission mounts made this bushing wear, because now at the front it's aligned correctly, but at the back here it's still drooping a bit, so that might accelerate the wear, and I think it's already pretty worn, and I don't think I should be able to move it that much. So yeah, okay. But yeah, this clicking noise, yeah, I should not hear that. Maybe it's the shield here, but yeah, I don't think so. Okay, so I guess there's only one way to find out. I need to remove the drive shaft and inspect all the joints and the center bearing as well. So yeah, let's do that. The Bentley manual mentions a sleeve here that I need to unscrew, but I can't see a sleeve anywhere. Maybe it's for the manual transmission cars. Yeah, I guess I'll just go to the next step then. Okay, so the transmission is supported, and I need to remove these 13mm bolts and nuts. Now, of course, I'm using my trusty Milwaukee impact. So easy when you have the right tools, eh? Yeah. All right. So it should drop right out. Yeah, there's a bit of tension here because the studs are not all right aligned perfectly. So yeah, Ah, yes, now I have full access. Perfect. Okay, so I put the car in park with the parking brake activated, so the drive shaft shouldn't move all that much. So apparently these are very, very tight. Wow, it's tight. Yeah, very tight. I think I'll use a cheater bar for that. Okay, so my cheater bar is just too small to fit on my 17mm, so I'll just go with the good old dead blow hammer and see how it goes. I think I got it. All right. Perfect. Yeah, these are self-locking nuts. You need to replace them. You can't reuse them. And yes, I need to get ratcheting wrenches. They're on the list. But I want to get a set from Gray Tools in Canada, and they are close to $300 for a set. So I need to budget accordingly and buy them in the future, not now. Okay, need to get the car out of park and parking brake. Okay, where's the other nut? There it is. All right, so that's all 4 nuts removed. Perfect. So I'm at the back of the car. This is the diff, and this is the rear subframe, and I need to remove these 13mm nuts that hold the drive shaft. So yeah, need to use my manual impact for these. So you can tell these are locking nuts because they are deformed and they don't back out easily. They offer quite a lot of resistance because of the shape of the nut and how it fights against the threads. Okay, I need to rotate the drive shaft now. Alright, so that's all the nuts at the diff removed. Okay, now that the front and back bolts of the drive shaft are removed, I can remove the center support bearing, which is just held with these two 13mm bolts. Okay, I'm not sure how heavy the drive shaft is. The Bentley manual says to support it. I don't have any device to support it, so I'll have to, you know, manage to do it on my own. All right, that's the last bolt. Okay, so yeah, okay, it's somewhat heavy, but not too bad. Ah, that doesn't sound very good. Anyway, now I guess I need to find a way to undo it. This part is rarely shown in videos because I guess it's too cumbersome to record because of how long and heavy it is. Huh. Well, okay. I guess I'll just get some blocks of wood and support it. Okay, I got a plan. I'll just put the bolts back on, just finger tight. So I know it's free to move, and then I can hit the flanges with a hammer. I still want a bit of movement because you know, I want it to move up and down. Okay, that's good enough, I think. All right, so I built myself a fantastic custom drive shaft support tool using quality plastic and you know, fine wood, and it's a fully adjustable too. You can, you know, you can slide it back and forth and so on. Very quality tool, and Made in the USA, of course. But anyway, that'll do. I mean, I just need something to support it, just because I don't want it to leave it hanging there, and I'm not quite sure how heavy it is yet. So yeah, I'll just hold it on these blocks, and then I can work at the flanges. All right, good stuff. All right, I got the drive shaft lower a bit. Let's see if I can move it. Okay, so it looks like the bolts are binding slightly. Okay, yeah, nice. It's free. Okay, how do I get it through there? Okay, now maybe I need to move it out of the way like this. All right. Okay, so you just need to pivot the joint either like this or the other way, just to get it past the flange here, this one. Okay, so that's good. This side is free. I can just leave it resting here like this. Okay, I'm on the diff side, and I'll see if I can remove the drive shaft and leave it resting on the subframe here. So let's see how it goes. Oh, it slides really easily. Okay, I want to be gentle with it, and then just leave it resting here. All right, perfect. Okay, I guess I can remove my support now and then get the drive shaft out under the car. Okay, I tried to give you a wide angle view. It's difficult to capture the entire length of the drive shaft. Anyway, so I can remove these blocks. Okay, and I'll try to pull it at the front, at the back I mean. Slide it over the sway bar, like so. All right, so this is, oops. No worries, it just fell on the plastic box. Oh, yeah, it's pretty heavy. Okay. All right. There you go. Drive shaft out of the car. Not the most graceful thing ever, but you know, working on the floor, on the cold winter floor, and getting a drive shaft out is never going to be fun nor graceful, but anyway, I still got the job done, so that's what counts. So here's the drive shaft out of the car. I noticed that it says E32 on it there on the label, so it must be specific to the E32, so not interchangeable with the E34. And I also did a visual inspection, and from what I can see, all the little welded weights are all in place. There's one here, another one there. So you just want to make sure that, you know, they're all at the right place. I looked at the joints, and this one at the front of the car in particular is a bit notchy in all directions. So like if I move it, yeah, it's a bit notchy in this direction and also this one. Yeah, hard to tell by video, but yeah, you can feel it in all directions. And I checked with the guys over at BMW Forums, and one member suggested that it's normal wear if it's on all directions. So nothing to worry about, and so I won't really worry about that. I think it's just the age of the car. And I did look, however, at the center bearing, and that's very interesting. So the center bearing needs to be replaced from what I can tell, because it's, first of all, it's noisy. So the bearing is not good, and it's wobbly as well. So if I look at it from this view, yeah, you can see how it doesn't move. It's eccentric. So that's no good. It means it will affect the balance, I believe, of the drive shafts. So that may be where my vibrations are coming from. And yeah, it's noisy, and yeah, that's not normal. It shouldn't do that. And it's a bit loose. It's not broken entirely, but you can see the cracks there in the rubber. So yeah, it's definitely due for a replacement, and it's exactly what I have here. So I ordered an SKF replacement. Unfortunately, made in China, as you can see there. But yeah, you can't really control that. So this is a new center bearing, and it's incredibly smooth when you just turn it. I mean, yeah, it's super tight and very smooth, and the rubber is nice and fresh, and it's a bit pliable, so exactly what you want, but not too much. So yeah, I think it will be a great replacement. And I wonder what these white marks are. Anyway, so yeah, I just need to remove, I believe, this, where is it? Yeah, there's a bolt there. It's a 19 millimeter. So you remove that, and then you can separate the drive shafts, like the two halves, and then you can remove the center bearing. And also, this joint is okay. I took a look, and it moves freely in all directions. So this one really did not see a lot of movement in its life, because it's very smooth in all directions. And at the back there, let me just show you quickly. So you have grease there. So there's a sort of bearing, and yeah, it was just packed with grease where it meets the differential. So that looks okay, I guess. I don't know what else to say. Seems fine. So yeah, I'll take these apart and then replace the center bearing. Okay, so the Bentley manual says the same thing as everyone else online. You need to make paint marks so that the drive shaft is reinstalled with the correct alignment, because these two halves are balanced together. So it's really important. But the instructions are a bit unclear. It talks about a clamping sleeve, which I can't see on my car. It might be for manual transmission cars, I don't know. Then it says reinstall drive shaft, tighten clamping sleeve, install drive shaft. But isn't that the same thing as reinstall drive shaft? So what's going on here? Anyway, I think I'll just wing it, and let's see how it goes. So I made my paint mark using one of these Sharpie paint pen. Quite useful. Although you have to shake it really well when you're working in a 5 degree Celsius environment. But anyway, now I need to remove this bolt. So I don't want it to turn, so I'll just counter hold it with a screwdriver. I think that should work. Sorry for the shaky camera and the bad angle. I don't have a camera guy yet. Maybe when I reach 1 million subscribers, I'll take care of that. Okay, and I don't think the bolt is reverse thread. I think it's a regular threaded bolt. So apparently these are quite tight. So let's see how it goes. Whoa, yeah, pretty tight. Okay, so I put a pry bar to hold the drive shaft in place, and I'll try to hit it with my my hammer, because yeah, this bolt is really difficult to remove. So let's see how that goes. Wonder if that did it. Nope, still tight. Wow, this thing is super tight. I cannot believe how difficult it is to remove it. Yeah, might have to find a different plan. So I'll try something else. If I bring it here and step on it, should be able to undo it, technically. Yeah, I believe that's the tightest bolt I've encountered on the car so far in my 3 years of ownership. It's yeah, nothing compares to that one. So here's the result after hitting it a few times so far. It's barely backed out, and yeah, it's on there really tight. Incredible. So I suggest you get a nice hammer, a nice pry bar if you want to do this job, because yeah, this bolt after 30 years is super tight. At least I can manage to move it by hand now. I can push really hard with all my body weight, and yeah, it's moving, but yeah, it's seriously tight. Okay, I'm making good progress, except that now I don't have any room to remove my wrench if I continue, because of the space at the back here is closing more and more. So I need to back out this part of the drive shaft this way, so that it rests against the bottom of the head of the bolt, and then it will give me more room at the back there for my wrench, and I can continue. Okay, let's try to back out the drive shaft a bit. Yeah, I think it's working. Yeah, I'm closer to the bolt now. Okay, so it's coming along nicely. I did a few cycles of, you know, just turning the bolt, hitting it there, turning again, hitting it, so maybe like 3 times, 4 times, and it's starting to separate the splines now, and the bolt is quite loose, so maybe I can even, yeah, I can finish it by hand. Yeah, perfect. So then if let me try to grab my hammer here for some live drive shaft separation. Oh, there's the bolt. Finally, this is the one. So maybe they put some extreme Loctite on it from the factory, and there's a super mega washer. Wow, that's huge. It's an 8.8 bolt. Ah, there you go. Perfect. I wonder what this powder is. Is it metal shavings? I'm not sure. No, it looks just like dust or something. Anyway, and I don't see the sleeve that the Bentley manual was talking about. I'm not sure. That's the metal part there is the inner race of the bearing, but there's no sleeve. So I'm not sure what they were talking about. All right, so by looking at the center bearing up close, you can see how worn the rubber is over here. So yeah, it's crumbling when I rub it. So yeah, I'm glad to change it. I think I will cut the rubber all around to remove this outer sleeve, and then I can use a puller to remove the actual race of the bearing. So yeah, let's try that and see how it goes. All right, so this is the outer sleeve with the molded rubber, and I just cut around it, and I could remove it easily. Okay, then I just need to remove the actual bearing. Okay, so I'm using a small general purpose puller to remove the bearing. I figured that I would need such a tool because it's probably stuck there, so I'm going to use it. I'm using 2 washers here to push on the splines here, and then it should pull the bearing. And I already tried it, and I can see that it's separating. And yeah, you just need to make sure that you are grabbing far enough on the rubber so it doesn't slip. Okay, so let's see. Okay, perfect. So that's the bearing removed. Okay, so this is the surface where the bearing sits. Looks nice. And the splines are in good condition as well. So okay, good stuff. I inspected the bearing, and it's pretty smooth when I turn it, except that I can hear some clicking when I push on it. So yeah, If I try it with the new center bearing, it's perfectly solid and there's no movement and no play at all. So when looking inside the threads here, I can see some residue. I'm not sure what it is. Maybe some old Loctite that BMW used in the 90s. I will use this bore cleaning extension on my drill to clean inside there, you know, just to make it nice and so there's no debris or anything like that. All right. Okay, give it a bit of brake cleaner. And just clean it with a towel. It's probably overkill, but while I'm in there, I might as well make it clean so I know it's okay and there won't be any obstruction for the bolt. So yeah, okay, that's great. Looking nice and shiny. Ready to reinstall. Okay, now for installing the center bearing. So the way it goes is that there's a deeper side here, and there's a shallow, almost flush side, and the flush side goes this way towards the drive shaft. So when reinstalling bearings, normally from what I've seen on videos online and reading about it, you would use a cup of some kind to push on the inner race. So this is the metal part, and you don't want to push on the outside here or on the rubber or on the actual mount, you know, the outside casing. So you want to push on this, but the thing is, I don't have a suitable socket. I have a 1-inch socket here, which kind of fits, but it won't slide over the spline, so that's no good. And I have a 36 millimeters here that would slide okay, but it doesn't really make a good contact with the inner race, you know, so that's not good. But then I looked at the drive shaft. So this is the second half that pushes against the center bearing, and here, let me show you. Okay, so if we look at the shaft that would actually contact the bearing, you can see that if I slide it on there, the diameter is perfect. Okay, so my theory is that I can actually use just this sort of surface area to push the bearing in place, and I don't need a cup or any special installation tool. I will just use the bolt to push it this way, to clamp it, and it should seat with the bearing perfectly, just like this. So I will try that, and let's see how it goes. Okay, so let's go ahead and install the new center bearing. I will just slide the drive shaft inside here. This kind of hard to work with one hand only. Okay, so wow, it slid really easily. That's good. Okay, so now I think I will put a block of wood here just to prop it. All right, good old blocks of wood, but what I do without them. So I can align the mark here and then align it like so. Sorry for the noise, by the way. It's really windy outside tonight. Like so. Wow, it's really easy to install even with one hand. Quite simple. Okay, now I'll grab my bolt and try to feed it somehow. Okay, maybe I need to turn it like this. Need to be careful so that the drive shaft doesn't fall off the table, of course. Okay, I have a habit of dropping things when working on my car, so need to watch for that. Okay. Okay, so the trickiest bit is just to get the first threads started, and then you can screw it just with the 2 fingers, and it goes on real easily. So yeah, it's a good idea to clean the threads of the bolt, also the inner bore of the drive shaft here, because you'll be working just with your fingertips at first, trying to screw on the bolt. So yeah, it's nice to make it easy on yourself and get everything clean. Okay, so now that the bolt is started, I can push the drive shaft this way so I can get clearance, and I can use my wrench now. Okay, let's see if my wrench will fit. Oh yeah, plenty of room. Okay, so now it's just a matter of tightening the bolt. Okay, now I'm at a point where I can't really hold the drive shaft just with my hand. I'll need to put a pry bar to tighten the bolt further. Before tightening the bolt all the way, I need to verify if the bearing is aligned correctly. And so if I turn the drive shaft, yeah, I can see that it's perfectly aligned, and the gap around the drive shaft and the bearing is the same and consistent all around. So it looks to be aligned correctly. I could not find a torque spec for this bolt, so I will just make it very, very tight. Just how I found it. Okay, that should be plenty tight. Okay, final visual inspection. So the large washer appears to be flush there. That's good. And over here seems to be okay. And at the back, there's just the slightest gap there between the drive shaft and the rubber. But I think that's okay. Okay, let's see if all this work paid off. If I try to rotate it. Perfectly smooth. No noise. No wobbliness. So if you remember, we looked at it and it used to wobble. Yeah, nice. That's perfect. Can't wait to try it on the car. So, okay, let's put back the drive shaft. And by the way, I decided not to put any Loctite there because the Bentley manual doesn't say to use any. So I just left it alone. I just made this bolt super, super tight using you know, all the strength I have. Yeah, no Loctite or nothing, just dry as it is. I don't know if you noticed, but there used to be a kink there, so I must have made a kink in the metal lip while hitting the drive shaft to get it apart, and thankfully I could straighten it just by using a large screwdriver and pushing up. So this lip is really, really thin, so you can get it in the right shape easily. So I'm at the differential at the back, and I was figuring out how to reinstall the drive shaft at the right order, you know, the front or the back. And while I was test fitting it, this sort of gasket fell on the ground. So yeah, I think it goes like this, or in a similar fashion. I need to align it better. But yeah, if you are working on your drive shaft and reinstalling it, make sure this gasket doesn't fall, and yeah, it's properly installed when you install your drive shaft, because it's there for a reason. Okay, change of plan. The gasket just ends up moving too much when reinstalling the drive shaft. So since it's coated in sort of grease, it sticks to the surface quite well. So I just installed it on the flange there, directly on the drive shaft. Okay, so here's the drive shaft all installed, ready to go. Thanks for watching. No, just kidding. So I did not record the reinstallation process because it's just too long of an item. Very bulky and difficult to record and maneuver. So yeah, I just put it on the floor here next to the exhaust and grabbed it, you know, with my two hands and just lifted it in the air. And then I could rest it on the rear subframe over here, where I show it. So there's a bit of a resting spot here. So you put it there, and then I had to make sure that the 4 bolts here of the U-joint aligned properly with the holes on the flange of the transmission, because this doesn't rotate. So yeah, you have to match the holes there before you can fit it over there at the differential. So once you have a good match, you can slide it over the differential and then pivot the U-joint around so that it fits inside the holes eventually. And then you can just secure the center bearing with the 2 bolts loosely, and then it's good to go and you don't have to hold it anymore. For the hardware, I decided to go with all new nuts. These are self-locking nuts, and unlike the exhaust manifold that I installed, I reused the locking nuts, but it's not really a critical area. It doesn't have to be, you know, it's not a life or death situation. Whereas the drive shaft is really important to my eye, and I just did not spare the expense and just went with new hardware. And the specs had me a bit confused at first because it talks about some ribbed nuts, some compression nuts, and I had to do a bit of research. So the ribs they are talking about is on the bottom of the nut. There would be ribs if there were any, and there are no ribs. It's just a smooth surface. So this is just a compression nut, and same thing. They have them for bolts as well. So I will go with the compression nut, and also so these are M10. These are the smaller ones are M8s, and I will go with the higher torque values just in case. I did a bit of research online, did not find a specific torque spec, but it was around the highest value, so I'll go with that. Okay, now for the nuts at the transmission flange. So these are 16 millimeters, and they are self-locking nuts, and you can see that they stop right about there. So, you know, the oval shape at the top is making it harder to turn. So I will just start it with a wrench. Okay, so this is snug. I bottomed out on the flange there. So I will install the other 3 nuts, and then I will finish them with a torque wrench. I was going to torque the nuts, but I ran into a bit of a dilemma. As you can see, I got my socket over here, and there's not a lot of room for my torque wrench. It's impossible to put it in place. And even if I had those, you know, those super low profile sockets that Snap-on make, and there's also a set from Sonix and Astro, you know, the really tiny ones. I'm not even sure there would be enough room there, so I had to order some crowfoot wrench extensions. So this is the crowfoot extension. I got a set from Tecton, made in the USA, a bit more expensive, but worth it to me. So yeah, you use the torque wrench over here, or a regular ratchet for that matter, and you can slide the open ends over your nut, so you have a bit of an offset, and you can use a torque wrench or a regular socket if you're in a tight spot. So this is a really good option to have. I've been wanting a set of these extensions for quite a while, but I never really had the situation needed for them, so now was a good time to purchase them. So one thing about these crowfoot extensions and torque wrenches, you want to use them at a 90-degree angle like this. You don't want to go past the anvil. You have to align it correctly. Otherwise, if you use it like this, you will end up applying too much torque over here because the length will not be correct. So you need to put it at an angle like this. Okay, so I already torqued this nut over here, as you can see with the pen mark, and the thing is that yeah, my by the way, my park doesn't stay engaged, so kind of weird. Not sure if that's normal or not, or if my detent, my pin is worn or whatever, but yeah, so you want to use the crowfoot extension all the way in to get a good grip on the sides. As you can see, I marred this side a bit because I was too not deep enough. Also, you have to counter hold the drive shaft because it keeps turning on you. So yeah, it's a bit awkward, but doable. All right. All right. Okay, so that's all 4 nuts torqued to spec. Quick note about my parking brake. It works now. It fully engages. So here's what happened. as I was working on my drive shaft, I had to support the transmission because I had to remove this bracing here to access the nuts over here for the drive shaft. So the transmission was not supported. So obviously I used my floor jack, just held it in place. But one day I was doing that, and then I had to leave the garage unexpectedly. You know how it is with wife and kids. You can't really be a long time in the garage. So I had to leave, and I only came back a few days later. And when I came back, my floor jack had depressurized, and my transmission was lowered about there. So it put a lot of strain, I'm sure, on the engine mounts, and also this shift cable probably got misaligned or it stretched. I'm not sure what happened. But when I put the car in park, it wouldn't engage park fully. To fix it, it was pretty simple. All I had to do was put the car in park, and then I undid this nut while holding this bolt, and then I could move the parking lever here. Let me show you. So this lever, I could put it in park by pushing it towards the front of the car. And then I could see that the alignment of the cable changed a bit, and then I only tightened the nut again, and that was it. So now whenever I put the car back in neutral and then in park, it fully engages the parking pole. So probably something happened in the alignment or the cable stretched, but anyway, it's fixed now, and the drive shaft no longer turns when I put the car in park. Okay, same thing at the back, at the differential side. I will install the nuts hand tight at first, and then I will torque them. So these are 13 millimeter M8 nuts. And again, I'm using all new nuts from BMW. I wish I could have an account at these industrial retailers, where they buy all sorts of nuts and bolts at these obscure sizes. They have all this stuff for cheaper than the BMW. So I'm sure I could get a nice discount there. But yeah, it's not open to the public. Yeah, you need a business account, unfortunately. So I'm stuck ordering directly from BMW. Okay, so that's all 6 nuts installed. All right. Okay, so that's all the nuts torqued at the differential. All good to go. And yeah, the crowfoot wrenches, they're okay, but you have to be really careful not to slip. They have a tendency to mar the corners of the nuts if you're not careful. But other than that, it's okay. Maybe the flare type extensions would be better, the one that grip the nut. But yeah, anyway, it's all done and good to go. Okay, so back at the center bearing, I need to tighten these 2 bolts. They are 13 millimeters, and the Bentley manual says to preload the center bearing by 4 to 6 millimeters forward towards the front of the car. It's about a bit less than 1/4 of an inch. So there's some movement there, like this. I guess that's what they mean. So okay, I'll just push it forward a bit more on this side. All right, that looks good. I think it has to be the same on both sides, ideally. Okay, I think that's sufficiently preloaded. And I need to torque these to, it's 16 foot-pounds of torque, or about 21 Newton meters, so really not a lot of torque. There you go. All right, so that's the center bearing preloaded and reinstalled, and the whole drive shaft installed, so that's perfect. I guess I'll go in the car, shift it to neutral and try turning it. Okay, let's see how it goes when I turn it. Oh yeah, turns great. No binding or nothing. And if I shake it, yeah, I don't hear any more rattle in the bearing itself, and I see the rubber is much more stiffer, so that's great. The only clicking I hear now is at the transmission. Okay, so I think I'm good to go. Before I reinstall the exhaust, I thought I would clean up the heat shield just under the drive shaft. It's a bit dirty, and there's some, not sure what that is, some hardened grease here or something. Maybe from the old center bearing, maybe it flicked some grease or something. But yeah, I'm sure it will clean up nicely. There it is after a bit of scrubbing. It's a lot cleaner, not perfect. There's a bit of a tar-like substance that's difficult to remove. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. So yeah, it's good for me. It's perfect. And I don't mind if it has a patina. You know, it goes with the territory of a 30-year-old car. So yeah, good for me. Okay, so everything is reinstalled. I did not show the process of installing the exhaust because I already showed it in the video where I changed the transmission mounts, if you want to look at that. Yeah, it went real well. There are just two clamps at the back here by the rear muffler. You got the hangers. There's also this support by the transmission. You have two bolts there, and then you have to route your O2 sensor wire. You got just some holders, so not too bad of a job. And you have the sort of springs at the downpipe. So yeah, it went quite well, and now I guess I'm ready to lower the car and start it up to see how it goes. And I need to also check at my exhaust manifolds because I changed the gaskets there, and I did not start the car since then. And actually, I haven't started the car in about 5 months, so it'll be the first startup, and I'll show it on video, and hopefully it goes according to plan. Okay, so the car is back on the ground. Sorry about the noise. It's raining outside, and I had to leave the door open for the exhaust gases. And by the way, I'll do something soon about this large gap. I got some IBAC springs that I'll be installing hopefully soon. So yeah, everything is connected, and I just need to remove this maintainer, this battery maintainer that I use during the winter time. It's connected to a this kind of unit, battery tender junior. It's really sufficient for what I need, just a slow trickle charger. So yeah, let's try it out. Need to put the transmission in park. Okay, hopefully it starts right away and I don't have any leaks at my exhaust manifold. That would be bad. Okay. So the fan is off. Wow, that was a really nice start. No loud exhaust noises, so that's good. Okay, there's gonna be some condensation, I guess, for all this time sitting. Yeah, lots of condensation. Oh, what's this? Uh-oh. Need to check this out. Okay, so the issue might be the penetrating oil that I used to change the exhaust manifold gaskets. It's probably burning off because I really used a lot of oil. So it could be what's causing the smoke. I really hope it's not a leak at the actual gaskets, because that would be really bad. I don't want to do the job again. So yeah, okay, I'll leave the car parked outside, let it run a bit, and maybe burn off the remaining penetrating oil, and then we'll see how it goes. Okay, so the car is idling outside, and I went for a very short ride and I see a lot less smoke now, but there's still some smoke. So I don't know if it's the exhaust or just the oil burning off. Okay, so no more smoke. I went for another drive. I drove it harder this time, and I think most of the oil burned off now. So that's really good. I'm really happy. I thought it would be an exhaust leak, so yeah, I did not want to go back and redo this job. So yeah, looks like it's resolved. Okay, so we're a few days later, and I can confirm that the drive shaft is definitely fixed. When I drive pretty fast with the throttle and I let go suddenly, there's no more thumping. So it's completely linear, it's smooth, and there's no issue. So I'm really happy about that, and it's something that I recommend everyone do on their E32s because it really smooths the drivetrain. One other thing, if you've never changed the engine mounts on your car and the transmission mounts, I recommend just doing everything at once. Change your engine mounts, transmission mounts, and the drive shaft center bearing all at once, because then you only have to drop the exhaust once, and you can do it all at the same time, because you need to remove the transmission bracket anyway to remove the drive shaft. So you might as well change the mounts, you know, and the engine mounts are not really complicated either. You just need to hold the engine from below. So yeah, I recommend doing all three at once so you stabilize the drivetrain and make sure that your components are lined up correctly. So yeah, definitely a job I recommend, and not too bad and not too difficult, although dropping the exhaust and the drive shaft on the floor in the garage is not the most fun I've had. I have to be honest, but you know, of course, it would be better if you have access to it, to a lift. But other than that, it's not too bad. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it gave you a bit of an idea on how to do this job if you are thinking of doing it. And we'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching.